Okay. Task camera's
Oh,
rolling.
Task camera's going. Okay.
Do you want to begin it?
Jim Fitzpatrick. Today is, what is today?
25th.
The 25th. It is
October.
Thursday. Yes.
No, Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Oh my God, it's Tuesday. Okay.
It is the year 2016.
Thank you, 2016. In case this goes in a time
You are
capsule.
a Gemini. I'm a Leo.
Okay, skip a step. Jim Fitzpatrick. Tuesday. Here we go. All right. You let us know when you're rolling.
You can lead the questions up whenever you want to.
Well, that's what it's when we always talk about. There's no difference between Monday or Friday. I'm like, or Saturday or Sunday. Well, maybe Sunday. Your busy day is probably always Monday, right? I would think Monday.
Yeah, that's the busiest.
Yeah. I have a client that he says on Fridays he will fire you if you book him on anything on a Friday afternoon. He makes everybody be off on Friday afternoon.
I agree.
And he's like, does this person not know that? Why am I booked for an appointment? Okay, are you going?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay. State your name and the name of your company for the video opening.
I'm Jim Fitzpatrick, publisher of San Diego Magazine.
Let's do it again. What do you want him looking at?
You.
Always me? Okay. And so when Michael talks to you, you still want him looking at me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I might stop you sometimes to rephrase something because I have the editor in mind that sometimes our voice isn't in the video.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, state your name and the name of your company.
I'm Jim Fitzpatrick, and the company is San Diego Magazine.
And say your title.
I'm the publisher of San Diego
Okay,
Magazine.
say it again, the whole thing.
I'm Jim Fitzpatrick, and I'm the publisher of San Diego Magazine.
Thank you, Jim, for being here with us. So how did you get into the publishing business?
Well, I was always in sales and marketing in various industries, and I was with a group of partners, 3 partners, who acquired Entrepreneur Magazine, and it was a turnaround situation, and they brought me in as the sales and marketing guy, and I became publisher, and since then I've been in publishing.
Okay, tell us more in depth about that, because when you met with me and Michael, you talked about how you even got into entrepreneur, and that word wasn't as kosher as it is today.
That's true. When we first got into Entrepreneur Magazine, actually Entrepreneur Magazine was just coming out of bankruptcy. It was a terrible magazine. It was full of get-rich-quick types of advertising and articles.
And what time frame was this in?
This was in the early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
It was at 94 is when we acquired it. That's not right.
Okay. Say it again.
Wait, no, hold on.
Say this
86 is when we acquired it. Okay.
Say it
I'll
again.
Say it again.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the mid-80s, and we acquired it, Entrepreneur Magazine, in 1986. And there was, at the time, no magazine for small business. I recognized that there was no magazine for that niche. There was Fortune, Forbes, and Business Week for the large companies. There was Inc. and Venture at that time for mid-sized companies. But 98% of all businesses in America are small businesses, and there was no publication for them. So I thought that Entrepreneur, if it was cleaned up and made into a real magazine, could probably do pretty well. There was a big market.
How did you form the opinion that there wasn't enough? How did you know that this would be something bigger than it was?
We didn't. We didn't. None of us knew anything about publishing. But it just seemed like a good idea at the time. And in fact, at that time, not many people even knew what an entrepreneur was or what the word meant. When I went on sales calls or made appointments, I'd have to spell the name.
Wow.
I'd say I'm from Entrepreneur Magazine. They'd say, what? And I'd say, ENTREPR, and I'd have to spell it out for her. So things have changed quite a bit since then, but we did quite well. It far exceeded expectations.
That's awesome. It seemed like a good idea at the time. What a good headline.
Yeah.
So you were mentioning there a second ago that you didn't know what you were getting into exactly, but that speaks to something I think is interesting in terms of calculating risk. How did you know, even if there was something you'd never done before, that you'd be capable of doing it once you got involved?
We didn't know. I didn't know that, but I thought it, like I said, my old philosophy is if it's a good idea, let's try it and let's see what happens. And I talk about it all the time, and I hope not to repeat it too often, but you just can't fear to fail. You know, you can't be afraid to fail, because it might, and you have to know that it might. But if it seems like a good idea, and again, this was a case where it seemed to be a need in the marketplace, and nobody was trying to fill it, and so we thought that was an opportunity.
You have an analogy about risk and about going through the door. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I learned a long time ago, actually when I was in the Air Force. I was a pilot in the Air Force, and there were many times when I was deathly afraid, scared the stuff out of myself. And I learned then that fear is just an emotion, and I say it's like a door, and you can leave the door closed and let fear stop you, or you can open it and go through. And I find that over 90% of the time, once you get through that door of fear, that you look back and you say, that wasn't so bad. I made it.
So do you find that fear paralyzes so many people from becoming a leader, becoming that person, having the idea but never fulfilling it?
Mm-hmm. I think that's one of the biggest things that holds people back, is the fear of failure. You know, what if it doesn't work? We still do a lot of things here that don't work. That's okay. You know, if we find one that does work and works well, it's worth it.
Awesome.
What would you say to someone who's a young person that's starting out with a business, who perhaps this is even their second or their third venture, and they have failed before, and the fear, to them, the fear is paralyzing and overwhelming? How would you counsel them to get past that fear?
I'd say you just have to have a deep talk with yourself and say, you know, how badly do I want this? Do I want it bad enough to face that fear of failure? Just put it aside, because that's what you have to do. You just have to put it aside. You have to go ahead with what your plan is. You have to have a plan and know what you want to do, and try it. You just have to try it. It's the Nike slogan, right? Just try it. Just do it. Just try it. Just do it.
There you go. So, Jim, you have an incredible story about how you got involved in Entrepreneur Magazine and the sale of that, and how that transcended into San Diego. So, and I know you've probably repeated this story many times, but for the person watching this, for the young entrepreneur, young future leader, share with us that story, because it makes you say, wow, how cool that guy took that chance, and look where he is now. So tell us that story.
Yeah, well, when I was at Entrepreneur, we had a lot of success. You know, over an 8-year period that I was there, we grew dramatically, and it was a lot of fun. We created a lot of new products around the brand, expanded the brand now into a major international publication, and I thought, you know, I would really like to do this for myself. And so through a mutual friend of the former owners of San Diego Magazine, I was introduced to them, and San Diego Magazine was in a turnaround situation, very much like Entrepreneur was when we acquired that. And so I thought, you know, maybe I can do it again. And we made a deal, and I jumped in, and I bet everything I had on trying it, and it worked out well too.
And then you actually sold San Diego Magazine, and then you bought it again.
I did. Let's see, I get the chronology right on this now. I bought it in '94, and I sold it in '05. I stayed on as manager, publisher for 3 years, and retired in 2008. And in 2010, I got a call asking me if I wanted to buy the magazine back, because the economy had tanked in '09 and '10. The magazine again was not doing well, was again in trouble, and I had to ask myself if I wanted to do this again.
So you weren't truly retired. Look, no. You're back here now.
And I love it, and we're having a great time.
Could you describe what your educational experience was like in terms of college?
Mm-hmm.
And as the second part of that question, would you recommend college to young people today?
Yes, I would. I went to Valparaiso University.
Okay, repeat back. Say, I would recommend college.
Yes, I would recommend college. I went to Valparaiso University, extremely good school in northern Indiana, and as I explained it, I got a very good education in spite of all my efforts at Valpo. And I realized that after I got out. And then while I was in the Air Force, I went to night school and got an MBA from Golden Gate University. And I think, and I know, I mean, those are major tickets. It's not so much that I used a lot that I learned in college, but I learned in college and with the MBA program. You learn how to learn. You learn how to evaluate situations and make decisions. And that's what's really important. So I highly recommend it. And many times for someone like me who I couldn't start a business right out of school or right after my military career. So I had to go to work for another company. But when the opportunity then came, the college education was really the ticket that opened the door to get into good jobs in the marketplace. And from there, then I got the opportunity to go into my own business, as I said, to acquire San Diego.
I have a follow-up question to that. College education, I mean, and of course it's very helpful, but I think for a lot of young people today, it can almost seem daunting in terms of going into debt. And because you are recommending that the young people get a college education, for the person who is worried about the money involved, what would you recommend that they do to deal with the considerable cost, but also the need for college?
I'd say, first of all, there are a lot of opportunities for scholarships, for grants and aids, and for low-interest loans. So do the best you can before getting into college so that you have the opportunity to get some of this financial help. And there's a lot of institutions that are supplying financial assistance to students. And make a really good decision on the school that you choose. Make sure that, number one, you're going to get a good education. You're going to get an education in the area that you want to be in. That's the first part. And then the second part, shop it. Shop it around. There are alternatives, and you don't have to go into extreme debt.
Jim, what do you feel are some of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make when first starting out?
Well, I think the biggest mistake is well, number one is not being capitalized well enough. That's usually the biggest cause of failure, is being undercapitalized. But I also think that people don't do enough research on what they want to do. And today, there's no excuse for that. Today, there is so much research available on the net, on the web, on the internet.
You didn't have Google?
No, we didn't have anything. Maybe I would have been scared out of it if I did. I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's so much information that you can really research your topic or your area of interest and make sure that you are creating a product that has a need. And the biggest failure I've seen, I see it in the publishing industry all the time. I see people who have a great idea, and I always use this analogy. I like horses. Everybody likes horses. So I'll start a magazine about horses. Everybody will love it. And it's easy today because with a computer, you can design a magazine on a computer, take it to Kinko's, and boom, you've got a magazine. Right. And people might buy it, probably not, but they might. But you can't make it commercially viable because is there an advertising market for it? Is it a good marketing piece for another business?
And how do you sell it? How do you get sponsors? That's
exactly.
Not easy.
Exactly. So you can have a great idea, but you have to fulfill a need.
You use a term called, what you said, undercapitalization,
Mm-hmm.
and this book is for some of our younger readers who may not know what that term means. So I have two questions. First, can you please define what undercapitalized means? And second, if an individual or individuals are undercapitalized, what would you suggest they do to get that funding?
Okay. Undercapitalization means you don't have enough money to do your business. You should, you have to do a business plan. And that, again, the reason for going to college, learn how to do a business plan and get practice at doing a business plan. And then make sure that within that business plan, you have enough money to fulfill the needs for at least, 3 years of your plan, and maybe even 5, but at least 3 years. You have enough money to survive for at least a 3-year period. And then add more because you have to take into the fact of contingency in case things don't go exactly the way you planned them. And then to get that capital, there's various forms. There if you have a good enough idea, you may find people that would want to invest in it. For a lot of young people, they start out with friends and family. That's the shortest route, but it's not for everybody. And otherwise, you can try and get a loan, but you have to have equity for somebody to give you a loan to borrow against. So it's tough.
Jim, one of my favorite books is by another Jim. His name is Jim Collins, who wrote the book From Good to Great, why some companies make the leap and others don't. And in the book, he talks about the importance of building a good team. So building a good team, what does that mean to you?
It's number one thing. If you're in a business and you're starting a new business and you're going to be hiring people in that business, you're not doing it all on your own, that's the number one thing. The people that you hire are the ones that will make you successful. And so you have to know exactly what you're looking for in that team. I use our example here. I've had two completely different teams in my two periods of ownership. From 94 to 05, we had more of what was at that time a typical journalism publishing type of staff, people who were editors, people who were designers. Everybody did their own thing. When I had my second time around, and I came back in 2010, the whole media world had changed. And this time, digital media was and is extremely important. And so I had to have people who were both journalists, but also digital media savvy. And that required just a completely different team than I had before. So know what it is, what your market is, and what kind of team you have to build to reach that market.
And I want to add to that. So in his book, he says, build a good team, get the right people on the bus, and get the wrong people off the bus. So
right.
Explain that, because too oftentimes I see, and I've had my share of keeping people on the bus too long. Share with us your experiences in that.
I would say that was my biggest weakness, is not getting people off the bus as soon as I should have. I try to help them get it, try to help them make it. I know you can do it, and you just can't. It's cruel, and I say, if you can't teach the old dog new tricks, you got to get new dogs.
Right.
And that's the business world. That's a fact of life. You just have to. And I've made those mistakes many times.
So you have more of a mindset where business is business,
right,
and it's great to have friendship, but you have to always do what's for the best of the company.
Right. Exactly.
Changing gears just a little bit, we asked you this question during the Facebook Live session, but what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur?
The best thing about it is the freedom, and at the same time, it's the responsibility, and I think it's the rewards. To know that you've created something, or you've built a business, you've created a product that people want. That's the most fulfilling thing, I think. And when people can come up to you, like I get it all the time. People come up to me and say, I love San Diego Magazine. I love what you guys are doing. That's the best feeling.
So let's talk about innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And innovation, and you said you already saw it change when digital marketing became explosive, and it even is still today. And there's so many people, I call them a business dinosaur, that still are adapting to the times. We talk about innovation, and
Mm-hmm.
I love how you're not a business dinosaur, of course. San Diego Magazine actually sells print prevalently over your digital.
By far.
So, and you're one of the few that have survived.
Yeah. And we have, again, because the market changed. Advertisers wanted to reach younger readers than what we had before. And my first time around with San Diego Magazine, luxury advertisers were our market. And so we had to reach the very high-end and older demographic who could afford luxury products. The luxury market went away, or at least significantly declined, and now advertisers wanted to reach millennials. They wanted to reach a younger audience. So I said, well, if we're going to reach millennials, I got to have millennials. And I've got to know what the millennials want because I don't know what they want. And so that's again gets back to building a team. I built a team who could tell me what they wanted and then could help me put it together and create it and deliver the product. And that's how we changed San Diego Magazine. We're in our 69th year of business.
Wow.
So you don't survive, a media company doesn't survive that long without changing to the needs of the market.
Right. So with that, let's still talk about innovation and what you're doing now with the magazine that's come out called Hatch. And let's show it to the camera here.
This is our baby. It's a chicken magazine. No, Hatch is a...
Wait, the horse didn't work. How come chicken's working?
Chickens work. Chickens are much better. The title actually was a great idea from our staff. From our marketing manager came up with the title. Mm-hmm. And we know that San Diego is a great innovative market.
We want to
innovation market
for the camera.
And there are 3 major innovation hubs in the world. And one is the Silicon Valley, and everybody knows about it. Another one is Boston. A lot of people know about it. But the third, and maybe even the biggest, is San Diego. And nobody knows about it. People in San Diego don't even know what's going on here. And when we found out what was happening and wanted to do a business magazine, but a business magazine that was different, we said, I said, that's it. That's the business magazine. It's a business Hatch is a business magazine about innovation in San Diego. And that's how that came about, and it's been extremely well received.
Give some stories on people doing innovative things here in San Diego.
One of our favorites, and one of the first ones we ran across, was the story of the tiny livers. There's a company up in the La Jolla Mesa, and I'm blanking on the name.
Say it again.
I don't remember the name.
Oh, just the company in La Jolla.
There's a company up in La Jolla Mesa that is using 3D printers to combine proteins, and they create human livers.
Wow.
They're tiny livers, and they're used primarily for drug tests, what do they call it when they're
Laboratory? Research? Laboratory?
Sorry about that. I'd like to get...
Okay. Why don't you tell us about the story? You told me, Michael, about that other... there was another innovation. What was the other...
Well, I think what you're saying is for to pass the FDA, was it?
For field trials. That's what I'm trying to get back to. There's a company up in La Jolla Mesa that's using 3D printers to create tiny human livers. And they're used for drug tests, for field tests, because when new drugs fail the FDA test, it's usually the liver that causes the failure. So instead of having to go through the whole trial process and then finding out that it doesn't pass when it gets to the liver, they can now take these tiny livers and do drug tests on those right now. And they're doing the same thing with kidneys. And of course, eventually, they hope to have human-size livers, kidneys, and what other organs are possible that they'll be able to create. That'd be so much to life sciences and to medicine.
Do you feel again, innovation, do you feel that you'll always stay innovative?
I'm going to try to. I think that's one of the keys in this market. I think we have to stay innovative. I know when we started that magazine, I said, if we're going to do a magazine about innovation, it has to be innovative. And that's one of the reasons we came up with the name Hatch instead of just doing San Diego business or something like that.
Because I don't know about you, but for me and people, I just found like Zara here is more of a millennial and a digital native, the same with Monica. And the digital natives grew up with the internet in their pocket, and we're digital immigrants. And a lot of my peers or people older than me, they just don't want to adapt to social media. And what do you say to them?
Stay a dinosaur. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But you get left behind in our market anyway, in our business. If I was retired, I'd probably, I don't know that I'd be on top of it as much. But in our business, if we want to stay on top of it, and we want to stay ahead of the game, we have to be involved in it. We have to know
But
everything that's
doesn't
going on.
it? Don't you feel though it's still even if you were retired, you're losing out on communication. You're creating a gap in communication from generation to generation.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. There's absolutely that gap. And for there's some people who just don't care. But if you want to stay informed, you can't do it with traditional media anymore, as we've seen. So and other media that rely on news as their product are having a very tough time.
Twitter, you have a great Twitter.
Right, and people find out the news on Twitter as it happens. So by the time it's broadcast on television or printed in a newspaper or a weekly magazine, it's old news. So those forms of media are going to have a tough time. But it's amazing, and that gets back again to staying on top of what is happening in the media world, and especially in obviously the digital media world.
So you've had a lot of success as an entrepreneur, but what our readers would like to know, I think, also are what's the worst thing that's happened to you as an entrepreneur? What's the worst struggle or the worst moment you've had, and what did you learn from that moment?
When I first acquired San Diego Magazine, I did all the things that we've been talking about. I did a lot of research. I did a business plan, and I was pretty confident because, again, I had been through a turnaround situation with Entrepreneur Magazine. But what I didn't plan for was in the second year of operation, paper prices skyrocketed. They doubled, and that's one of the biggest expenses that we have in publishing a magazine is the cost of paper, and so that just threw my whole business plan out the window. So I had to make adjustments, and so I learned from that you can plan all you want, but you have to be flexible. You have to be nimble, quick, and you have to make adjustments and changes all the time.
What do you think makes for a meaningful life?
It's a deep philosophical question.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked this question because, for the purpose of our audience and the reader, we don't want to appear that success is just about money, about power. We really want to show meaning that for people who have gone beyond, taken the risks, taken their failures, and then reassessed and said, if I had to do it all over again, and then we want you to give to the readers and listeners and viewers, really what makes for a meaningful life.
I think that's something that's very personal and very different for everybody. For me, it's just been, what have I done to make a difference? When I leave, will I have accomplished anything that will have made a difference in anybody else's life? And that's one of the great things about the publishing industry is we really do affect people's lives every day. Every time they pick up the magazine and read it, they read about something that they didn't know anything about, and they go and they have an experience that they wouldn't have known about had they not seen it in the magazine. And that's on the business side. And then, of course, there's the personal side. And I think for me, on the personal side, it's a family, and I have a great family with 3 kids and 6 grandkids, and they're all fantastic and wonderful, successful young people, happy young people. So I think a meaningful life is enjoying every chapter. I call it. I've had a lot of different chapters, and I look back on them, and I've just enjoyed every one of them.
So what message, as none of us are immortal, so down the road, you have your generations to come watching.
I'm having too much fun, so I'm not going.
So what kind of message, they're watching this long time from now, yes.
Yeah.
And you've served your purpose, and you have given a legacy with all the great work you've done. And they're watching this. What is something you want to say to them?
I'd say, do what you enjoy doing. I think that a lot of entrepreneurs will say that. There is an old saying: if you do what you love, then you'll be not only happy in what you're doing, but you'll be successful. But enjoy what you're doing. I think that it's really important. I mean, you want to be able to get out of bed every day and say, I want to go do this. I want to go to work. I want to go to do what I do. And no matter what it is, whether you're a carpenter or a publisher or a doctor, lawyer, I think life is too short not to enjoy it.
You had mentioned something when we had lunch together a few weeks ago, and you said something that the world has changed a lot, and in some ways being an entrepreneur is safer. You said something to the fact that you can become your own safety net if you're an entrepreneur. Could you walk us through that, the logic of that, and what you meant by that? Because I think that was really important.
Yeah, I think because I've been around a long time. When I first got out of school, people were more concerned about security and job security. They'd go to work for big corporations, and on my parents' generation, they would work for the same company for 30 years, retire, and that's what it was all about. It was about job security. When I was in the military, people stayed in the military as a career for 20 years because there was security, job security. I learned or believed, even when I was in the military, I believed there is no such thing as security. You are your own security, and you have to rely on yourself and your own abilities, and that's your only security. The concept, the old concept of job security it doesn't exist, and we've seen that now, of course, in large companies and in the military too. So there's no place to go that will give you security other than yourself.
So when did you,
Pause for a second?
yes. So my next question is going to be, so when did you have the confidence in yourself to bet on yourself? I would ask you that.
I was thinking we had these interviews and make chapters, and I was thinking about making that the heading of this chapter that you were your own job security. So I think, and I've actually, since you said that at lunch, I've said it before to other people when we're pitching the book, because I think it's really valid.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always believed that. I mean, I'm not organized.
But it's so different than what you hear. Like, especially when I was coming up, when I was going into high school and college, it wasn't that idea at all.
No.
And I think that's what when Lisa and I were in LA pitching this to some people, and they know they know Gene Simmons, so we're trying to get Gene Simmons involved. And so I was saying that I think that this is so important because more than ever, you have to become that
Yep.
your own job security.
Absolutely. I had something. Oh yeah, when I went to school, all of our got a degree in business. All of the courses were to prepare you to go work in a large company. There was no such thing as an entrepreneurship.
Actually, can we lead with that? I'd like you to talk about that too, because I think that's very valid today. And you're right.
Write your question down, because mine follows up his
one.
Yeah. Write your question down.
There are some schools though now that do have entrepreneurship classes.
Right.
But
and there's still lots that don't, and that's why
Yeah.
with our Young Entrepreneurs Worldwide, we want to have programs in high schools, and because even just leadership, not everyone is meant to be an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur wants great leaders on their team. What makes a good leader,
Well, and really big companies today, if they're smart, they want people who are entrepreneurial in that sense, but not necessarily entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I'll come back to that.
Jim, great interview so far. So, with you talking about you are your own job security, when did you have confidence to believe in yourself that you are your own job security?
That's a good question, and really it came to me years later in retrospect. And I really learned it in the Air Force. I learned...
How old were you?
I went in when I was 22, got out when I was 28. But I learned, I did, and had the opportunity to just do some amazing things as a pilot at the Air Force Flight Test Center. And I learned very, I won't say quickly, but sincerely that, there were some things that I did, and I said, if I can do this, I can do anything. And that's when I started to believe that, I can do what I set my mind to.
Do you find people in your family with that mindset? Because you are matriarchal and have that patriarchal because you are patriarchal and have that? Do you find that influences other people around you?
Yes, yeah. My son had the nerve to leave a company that he was working in sales and start his own business, and ended up selling it. So I think he got some of that influence, and then and I have a daughter who's working for a larger company, but doing very well and using those. I think the same work ethic. I think all of my children and our grandchildren have a real solid work ethic.
You were, as a follow-up to the earlier question, you were talking about what it was like to go through college and how the colleges were teaching young people to prepare them to work for big companies. And if you could elaborate on what you were saying between then that reality then and the reality now for young people.
Yeah, when I look back on my education and how business schools prepared you for the working world, they really were preparing us to go to work for large corporations. You're either going to be in accounting, or you're going to be in marketing and sales, or you're going to be in production management, or some silo that you're going to be in some large corporation. And the idea was to work your way up the ladder. Today, that's obviously not the case. Even as I said earlier, there's no security even in large companies, and you see large companies just reorganizing constantly because of the changes that happen so rapidly today, with all of the changes that technology has brought, and we have them here every day, trying to keep up with it. So I think the schools that are still teaching people to work in a large company are doing the students a disservice. I think they should prepare them for both. There are a lot of schools now that have started entrepreneurship programs, which I think is terrific, and it's really important for I think for graduating students to have a broad spectrum of experience, not just in one area.
Okay. Okay, Michael. So I'm down here at rematching. I think.
I don't think we need that one.
Yeah.
I was kind of moving down to
Yeah.
I think what we should do. That one definitely. What was I think we kind of covered that.
Yeah.
And then maybe that one, but I was definitely went to 20.
So circle 20, 17, 20.
20. We kind of did 21.
Yeah.
But I still think it might be good. I definitely want 22.
Not 21. 22.
Okay,
Yes.
22. And then
not 23. He already said that.
Yeah, exactly.
24, yes.
Yes. I think we've done 25.
Yep. Not 26.
I think 26 is good. I'm always interested
I know. Okay,
in that
so
one.
that
So
one
let's do
was
26. 27 is good. I think we've done 28.
Yeah. And okay, good. So we have like
2 to go.
6 questions.
We've got like 57 more questions to go.
And then in Spanish.
And then we have follow-up questions to the.
Wait, and then we talk about them in Spanish.
Yeah.
We'll need you to do it for our Spanish listeners.
See.
Yeah, what's your schedule like tomorrow and the next day?
Yeah.
We're like, oh, it's going to be this big.
It's going to be a big check.
We call it the Skip a Step saga.
Right.
Yeah.
This is the prequel.
Did you want to do 20?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so 17, 20, 22, right?
17, 20, 22, yes, definitely. And I think we
And
get
24, yes.
24.
And then? And then you want
26 and 27.
We already talked about 27, I think. He's already said it.
Okay, then let's cut it.
Okay. Then
And
20.
29?
Yep.
We could? You
Yeah.
could. You do 29?
Yeah. Okay. Are
We
you
rolling?
following this one still?
Did we get everything on that last question? Did he finish?
Sorry, can you get behind with the? I like when the camera's showing on him as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to lead with 17?
Sure.
Okay.
I once recorded someone when I had the business experience show. You were on my show, and we did the whole thing, and at the end I said, "Oh no, that was just practice. We have to do it again." And then we said it on air. It was just funny. He's like, "What?"
What?
So it's not raining today, thank God. It was raining here yesterday, right? On Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're
It was
back.
yesterday.
Yeah. Were you rolling?
Yes. Jim, what inspires you?
What inspires me? Challenges inspire me. I like to take on challenges and just see how far I can go, what I can do. I find that very inspiring, whether it's in business or in just about anything.
How can an aspiring entrepreneur best determine what to go into as their business?
Well, as I said earlier, it has to be something that they like, that they like doing. You know, if they like doing something around horses, do it. Find a way to do it. Whatever it is, that it has to start with that. Don't try and force it, because if you force it, if you go into a field to do something, it's not an area that you like or enjoy, but you're doing it because you think it's going to make you rich or something. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Do you have a personal philosophy? And if so, what is it?
A personal philosophy would be just to do my best. Whatever I do, I want to make sure that I'm doing my best. And for San Diego Magazine here, our philosophy is whatever we do, it has to be very high quality, upscale and high quality. No trying to just get by with something.
What do you feel the youth can teach us? And I'm sorry, as a background to this question, so a lot of this is obviously you're helping the youth and you're teaching them and giving wisdom, but it goes the other way around. So what do you think the youth can teach the older generations, or
Yeah, I think that's very good question. It's very important to listen for the older generation, like myself, to listen to the younger generation, because they have a lot of good ideas and thoughts that aren't tainted by years and years of experience. And that tends to make them much more creative, because they'll take ideas based on their experiences, which are completely different, in all cases, than they were from somebody from my generation. So I think there's a lot to be learned from young people today.
Yeah, and follow-up comment to that is a lot of times I hear from people over 40, 50, 60 are, oh, those millennials, and they're criticized for their work ethic and again, growing up in different times, but we grew up in different times too. And so I want the message to be that we still need to be innovative and learn from the youth.
Absolutely. I have an office full of millennials, and I love them because they're high energy, they're very smart, they're people who came here because they wanted to be a part of San Diego Magazine. They wanted to show what they can do. They want ownership. I think that's very important for an entrepreneur to understand that when you create an organization, you really have to give people ownership of something and let them do it. And the millennials I've found that we've been fortunate enough to have here on our team are like that. They love having ownership. And
give an example.
For example, we have a very large events program. We do 16 events a year. When I tell the events team, okay, these are the events that you're assigned, you own. I want you to own the event. Run it like it's your business. And I compensate them for that as well. And they like it. It's almost a form of entrepreneurship. For them, they don't have the risk. Well, their job's at risk, but they know that they're going to be evaluated on what they do. They're not going to be micromanaged. It's going to be their thing. Is there a time or an example you can give where one of the millennials had an idea or something, and this happens to me where I'm like, okay, I feel really stupid, this and I don't. Like, do you ever have those moments? Oh, all the time. All the time.
Yes. Okay.
Oh yeah. I didn't know anything about social media when I came here. I knew what a website was for the for the digital media, for the web, but. Yeah, all the time. They're the ones that are teaching me. I teach them, how we can use it, or how to find a market for it. I ask them, they know how to use it, and they teach me.
Yeah. So how does that make you feel, and how do you embrace that change, and how do you feel that they feel about you, being humble enough to admit that you don't know sometimes?
I hope that they feel that it's okay, because that's the way it is. I think they feel empowered by it. I really do. I think, okay, I think it makes them feel like they have value.
Yeah. Because
they have knowledge and, again, experiences that I don't have, and it doesn't bother me that I don't have the same.
I'm sure you just laugh with them.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't bother me that I don't have the same knowledge and experiences that they have. I love learning from them. I love learning, period. But I like learning from them. They learn from me at the same time.
So do you feel that someone who has business experience of 20, 30 plus years, which is a lot of the age group I work with, because do you feel that the worst thing you can do is be ignorant?
No. I think the worst thing you can do is not learn. I know I'm ignorant in some areas. I know that. But when I do, I say, teach me. How do I do this? Where do I find Google Analytics? What the heck is it?
Right. So you're interested in learning and
absolutely.
And staying afloat and staying involved with your company.
Yeah, and I find that my folks they're interested in learning about, well, how do you make this a business? I know how to do this stuff, but how do I make it a business, or how do I make it apply? And that's where I can contribute.
Do you often find it surprising sometimes at your life experiences and business experiences, and then people asking for your advice on things because you are the proven expert? Do you sometimes step back and say, wow, how did I learn all that?
Yeah. First of all, I say, wow, where did the time go? For sure. And then I go, how do I know that? And I think back on it, and it's an accumulation of experiences. One of my closest friends at one time, before he passed, was Saul Price. Saul was the founder of Price Club, which is now Costco. And he was a brilliant man, an entrepreneur all his life, very entrepreneurial. And I had the opportunity to meet with him frequently. And at one time I asked him, I said, Saul, why do I have to learn like this? Why can't you just give me an injection of your experience? And he says, Jim, it just doesn't work that way. And it doesn't. You learn by experience.
I'm really glad. Actually, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I wanted to include that in the interview. This is changing gears a lot, but to say the least, we live in very interesting times. And I wanted to know, are you optimistic about the future? And if so, or not, why or why not?
I'm very optimistic about the potential of the future. I know there's tremendous potential. I truly believe that the younger generation is going to fix what we messed up, because they're a lot smarter than we are, and they're a lot more savvy, and a lot more. I think a lot more creative. Again, because we were raised in that corporate environment, which didn't require a lot of creativity. Today, everything requires a lot of creativity, and you have to be quick and on your feet. So I have a lot of confidence in our potential and in the abilities of our people. I have a lot of concerns about where the country's headed, and I don't want to get into a political discussion, but I see too many things happening that are squashing entrepreneurship, that are squashing squeezing our creativity, not allowing us to be as creative as we can. We're extremely creative in spite of our government and in spite of everything that they do to try and stop us, to protect their own fiefdoms. If they would just let us go, if they would just free us up a bit more, I'd be so optimistic about it. But I'm concerned.
I like that answer.
Yeah.
And I agree with it.
So
I think we said that.
Yeah, just one more question.
Yeah.
What do you want to be known for is my last question.
And devalidate. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's the most important question, Jim.
And yes, we validate.
This is fun. fun.
It is fun, and I like that you were. I don't know if I hope we got the victim line in there, but I liked what you said there because it's very honest about. And I think that you're right. We, in spite of the restrictions, it's actually forced people to be more creative. And I haven't heard it expressed that way, but I think that what you said about, coming from a corporate culture in which schools were teaching how to work for other companies, then we're teaching how to be small business owners, that would create much more creative people. I hadn't thought about that.
And that's really true. And we haven't. I love that because I know I'm a creative person. We're all creative people in here. I mean, I think we're all born creative, and somehow we're taking away and stripped from that.
Right.
That's why you see children that, like my 11-year-old now, when he was little, he would draw things, and he can't draw like that anymore. It's like, what does school do to change that?
We mechanize people, I think.
Yeah.
And even though, we're the most creative society in the world.
Okay, I got it past the lock.
As far as all products go. Because we still have some freedom to do that and to be that. Other systems, socialist systems and others, squash that. And so from the very beginning, they just aren't raised with that creative gene, whatever it is.
Right.
If they had it, killed.
Right. But we
still have it.
But we're also finding, this is fun because this is we're entrepreneurship researchers now. And so we'll talk about, we'll be saying, well, when Jim said this, or, and the common thing has been, for people who aren't told no a lot, even though I was told no, so I had the opposite force where because I was told no so much, I'm going to make a difference. But we're going to interview an 11-year-old CEO that at 5, her mom, and this is Michael's connection, when she was 5, she told her mom, I want to have a candy store one day, Mom. And the mom's like, okay, because you shouldn't say no to your child. She's like, we're going to need a logo, a website. So they bought the domain name organicfactorycandy.com. And because of the name, 5 years ago on Google, it got ranked. They started getting orders, blah, blah, blah. So she's now 11, sold in Williams-Sonoma. When they got orders, they're like, what? And she kind of winged it as you would, and long story short, she's about to go into all the coffee beans in the country.
Oh my goodness! And
so she's for sure going to interview. We're going to ask to interview at a coffee bean, and then down the road, ask for our books to be like. Why would they not do this?
Yeah.
Like it's endorsing their brand of community, and
Yeah.
So it's just neat.
That's awesome.
So that's a common thing. I actually have two more questions. Because one of the common things that we're seeing with these entrepreneur research and the amazing people we've gone to interview as yourself, thank you very much, is that visions and having thoughts and executing something that was a thought or a vision and then it happening. So what is your thought process about visions and thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's terrific. I mean, you do have to have vision. I think it's a good question. We haven't discussed that. But as an entrepreneur, you have to see something and have a vision, either something that exists that you can make better, or you see a need and you have a vision of how you can fulfill that need. And it's very important, and it's not something that everybody has, that's for sure. But I think that's a real requirement of anybody that wants to be an entrepreneur.
And so, because this isn't your first go around in forming businesses and executing them, having the vision and then to fulfillment, does it get easier for you when you see something that you can kind of see ahead what it's going to be?
I think it gets, you get freer to do that. I think it does get easier because you have more confidence. Once you've done it a few times, you have the confidence that if you have that vision, you can make it happen.
You can go through the door again and again and again.
Exactly.
Okay, last question, Jim, is what do you want to be known for?
What do I want to be known for? I think just as somebody who did their best, did the best they could with what they had. I did the best I could with what I had. That's really it. I don't think it'll be anything too profound. For example, it's just that I had a good life and a good time, and I did the very best I could.
There you go.
And I validate.
And you validate. He validates. I'm good.
Very nice.
Do you all have any more questions now? You good? You happy with that? Okay, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Yay.
Good job.
We just asked for a photo of all of us. Jen.
Oh,